Hello and welcome back to the Percepta Leadership Series. I am Kellen Crow, one of your hosts today, and very excited to be back. Feels like it's been a minute, but glad to be back after the Thanksgiving break. Meredith, good to see you. Thanks for being
Hey.
here. Today we are joined by one of my favorite people at Percepta, Jamie Goldberg, who is our Chief of Staff and VP of Strategic Enablement. Jamie, thank you for coming on today. That's a hefty title. Give us a little background, who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of get kicked off. Today we're going to be talking about how to run a data-driven organization. Super excited to be chatting with you today.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. I know the role sounds very elaborate. It's really a lot of the support department leadership from my side. So today I have training, ISD, quality, the K-based department, workforce management, reporting, PMO, mobilization, and the new data analytics team, which I'll
Is
talk
that
about
all?
in a second. Yeah, that's what I run. And then on my second job in my free time, I'm also chief of staff to the president for all of the ELT functions. So I've got a little bit on my plate, not much.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and you've been with Percepta for a little bit now, and you have a little bit of history with Percepta.
I have it 3 years in this stint. I was actually with Percepta in the very beginning in 2000 2000 when they formed Percepta. I was part of T-Tech back then and was actually part of the initial Percepta team.
Right. So you bring some cool perspective to the team now. So that's really awesome. So thanks again for being here. And as I mentioned, today we're really digging into some behind the scenes on like data and why it's important. And so it's super important, and it's something that Karen talks about. Our president Karen talks about a lot. And I'm interested to hear what's our motivation. What are we doing to kind of get to this data driven organization, Jamie?
Yeah, so when Karen came on board, 3 years ago, she evaluated what was needed in Percepta for our growth strategy, and she really looked at three pillars, right? The first one is being brilliant at the basics, so doing everything that we can to dot the i's and cross the t's from a client perspective. Preparing for scale, so we knew we wanted to grow the company and that there was an opportunity. So what do we need to do to get ready for that growth? And the last thing is really drive with data. And when you think about drive with data, there's been a lot of studies, and I think McKinsey has done one that's really kind of very interesting, in which it says companies that drive with data are 23 times more likely to win new business, which is a huge factor, right? 6 times more likely to maintain the clients that they have. And then they are 19 times more profitable, 19, not 19%, 19 times more profitable. So I think when you combine all of those pieces with the strategy and the 5-year plan for Percepta of growth, you can see why driving with data is so important for our organization.
Yeah, those are some pretty big metrics. So, 23 times more. Those are big numbers.
Yeah.
So, how are we using data to manage our business, and what does that roadmap look like for us?
Yeah, so I would say, Meredith, data is part of every BPO. So we're not doing anything that unique from a data perspective because every BPO needs data to run their business. So some examples of that might include agents need data in order to service customers. So they need to know what the right decision is in order to give their customers the right service. That is all driven off of data. Our supervisors, they need data in order to manage their agents, right? What do I have to coach on? What are the areas of opportunity? What are the great areas that are happening right now? So what are the trends? Our workforce team needs data in order to manage how many staff we have and align those staff in, and then our management, our finance team, all of those people need data to see company health and see what's happening. So data is kind of embedded in our business is where I want to start. But just having data, that's great, but it's not necessarily the end all be all because it's about how you use it. So when you start thinking about our roadmap, that's the part where we have to start talking about usage of data and how it matters. So Gartner says, they've talked about kind of the data spectrum, and, a lot of companies are stuck in what they call hindsight, which is more about the what happened yesterday data. And really, our roadmap is moving ourselves into foresight, which is what will happen and how do we make it happen. Those are two different questions that we're really trying to move toward becoming more predictive and prescriptive in the work that we're doing in our data analytics. That's part of our roadmap. So how do we make it happen? What are we going to do to predict the next thing that's going to occur and make sure we are making the most out of every customer interaction? That's really our roadmap. It requires us to look at things from both a tools and a technology standpoint, as well as a talent standpoint, because that talent's really necessary for us to prepare for scale, right? I can have all the tools all day long, but if I don't have people to use the tools, how do I make it work?
Yeah, and it's like, man, having that much data, I mean, I get it. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it is so powerful to have. So it's so great to hear about this stuff. We talked about preparing for scale. What does that mean? Kind of what are we doing in that perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kellen. So the first thing we have done is we have taken great strides this year, and I want to, thank Darren Smith and our IT department for taking great strides in the technology architecture, because having data available is only good if you can get at it. So they have really worked to move away from a premise-based technology or infrastructure into the cloud. And that enables us in several ways. It provides more flexibility, of course, and greater access, but it also increases our security around our data and allows us to have a more global plan and footprint around what we're going to do. And especially as we think about global protections and data protections, with international data, having that separate ability to have a cloud, in Europe or a cloud in Australia versus here, that really is the first step. So the architecture is step one, and Darren and team have been working on that. We work on that with data governance on my side from a business standpoint, and Darren's side from an IT standpoint. And then we couple that with tools. So we've got quite a few things that we're doing in tools changes. We used to be what I want to call a push organization, where we sent reports out to somebody and said, here is a big pile of data. You go through it and tell me what you want, what you need to do with it. And now we're getting into more of a pull organization where we have used BI in order to enable web-based access to the data. So I don't have to wait for my report to come. I can go out and pull it when I need it. I can pull what data I need, which allows a little more flexibility. And that data at a fingertip standpoint really helps our supervisors, our agents, our management run the business better. We're also extending that out to our clients. And I'm a kind of a firm believer in data democratization, which means I want more data available to you, because as an end user, you may think, oh, I only want this information. And you grab that information, but then you see other information out there that you hadn't known you wanted. But once you compare it, you're like, there's the answer. The more people that have that data in their hands, the better we can get at those answers and drive the business. So it's really about using data to make information available for people to make decisions.
Yeah, that's funny. I think you made a really good point there, and not to make light of the situation at all, but like it's addictive in a way that like you don't realize what you need until you see all the opportunities that you could have, and you're like, well, I could use that number, and I could use that number, and I could use that stat because that tells a good story, right? So I think that's really, really cool, and speaks to just in communications we do the same thing where it's like, oh, well, that could be a really nice opportunity to use that data. So really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
Yes.
I think what's awesome about it too is that technology is always evolving, and it's always improving and getting better. And so, yeah, we have a lot of data, but how is that going to be useful to us, right? And is it organized? And are we going to have to spend a whole lot of time digging? And, it sounds like Power BI is really helping us be more organized and giving us the tools that we need, And you did mention technology and tools, but you also said something about talent. So where are we going with that? What are the plans for that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of movement in our talent. So when I joined here 3 years ago, we had our reporting team that was doing everything in Excel and sending it out. And that's kind of the talent that we needed at the time. Hindsight-based reporting, kind of, grabbing the basics. That team has evolved, right? We have hired in people who are experts at creating reports and report development. We have people who are now doing quality assurance of reporting. So they have really kind of stepped up their game. And a lot of that is more, one and done development, creating the reports rather than manually creating the reports. So the shift from manual to automated was really big in that team. And so those skill sets are great. We've kind of, established that, and that matches our brilliance at the basics pillar, right? So we're really happy with where the reporting team has gone, but we're also adding something extra, right? So reporting team, again, is creating hindsight data and data sets. But then how do you use that data? And that is our new team that we are bringing on board, which we're very excited about. That's our data analytics, business analytics team. So business analytics is really two functions on our side. It is the data analysis team and then the data science team. And the two pieces work in conjunction with each other in order to take data and turn it into both information and insights. And when we take that information, then we should be able to make better business decisions around kind of what's happening in our organization, what's happening in our production, in our operations. I think that, that team will eventually get into a much more robust tool set using AI and machine learning in order to create predictive and prescriptive models that will allow us to be able to know when there's a problem before there's a problem, which is the end result, right? We would like to use data to get ahead of all of our competition.
Awesome. And okay, so we've talked about the pillars. We've talked about kind of where we've been, being a push organization, now becoming more of a pull organization. Talked a lot about the technology and the getting data in an organized fashion. Talked a little bit about the talent. The punchline here for the whole story is, so where does this whole thing, where does this, being a data-driven organization, how does that help our people? And then also, how does that help our clients? Because those are the two people that were most important for us, is our people and our clients.
Yeah, I think from our people standpoint, Kellen, the biggest thing is having the data available at our fingertips allows us to measure success and be more consistent in delivery, which is the number one thing that we want, right? We want to be able to consistently exceed or outperform requirements, KPIs, and objectives. And if we don't have that data at our fingertips, we're kind of flying blind. So that is like number one for our people. They need that data in order to drive the business. As we think about those KPIs, I'll call them, guys have heard these terms before, leading and lagging KPIs, right? So lagging KPIs are a lot of the work that we do in our historical hindsight reporting, but leading KPIs are used for predictor models in order for us to be able to determine what's next. And that is where the data analytics team will come in, kind of driving to the next set of data. So our ops folks or our clients don't have to go do that. They may not be statisticians. They may not be experts at machine learning, right? So we want to bring in the people who can help point us in the right direction, which is that team that we're forming. So we see data on steroids happening here really quick for the company with the formation of that team. From a client perspective, and I talked about data democratization, we're working closely with our clients for visibility and access to our data sets. Nothing that we have here should be really proprietary because we believe in being kind of open. It's kind of a group effort for us to manage this. We want to bring the insights and expertise to our clients, which we will, but we also want them to be able to look at the data themselves because they may have a different viewpoint. So one of the things we're doing is making that available through our same BI instance. So lots of changes in there. I think all of those things I say really align to our 5-year strategy and our 5-year roadmap about growth of the business and making it kind of function. It's back to that original quote. We have the opportunity to maintain the clients we have. We have the opportunity to grow new business if we can really become a data-driven organization. And that is matching where the industry trends are saying companies that are successful in this space are. And that's our alignment and our plan.
Well, Jamie, that was a whole lot in 14 minutes. Thank you for all of that. Definitely worth a rewatch for anybody that has watched, because there's a lot of great information in there from Jamie. Thank you for being our expert on the data today. Really awesome to have you here. For anybody that's been watching our series, we appreciate you watching. Stay tuned. More to come at the end of this month. Meredith, always great to be on with you. And Jamie, thanks again. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, guys.